then now it's interesting because I go through periods like you talked about. There's times when you feel like sitting, sometimes you don't. Well, to me, you can practice mindfulness and wisdom from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. So the informal practice and formal practice, those are just labels. So there's no difference when you the master of life. You can't tell if they're working or they're playing. If it's their love or their leisure, because to them they're always doing both. So the idea is be present for whatever you do. So even though you're not sitting and being in silence, that's one part of it. The other part of it is more, is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood. So you can look at, okay, how am I feeling? How am I being? How's my self-talk? Am I creating more greed, hatred, and delusion, or am I moving towards peace and compassion and love and understanding? So it's that kind of a thing. So we get these ways of thinking that says, okay, I need to practice when I'm sitting or when I'm in a class like this, but then when I'm not here, I can be something else. Well, I will say who you are as a person is going to show up who you are as a meditator or whatever. And so if you start understanding your mind from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you have a rough estimation of whether it's positive or negative, whether it's external or external, whether it's focused on self or other. You can do that all day. And then right speech, that means your self-talk too, because we be talking to ourselves. And let me just ask a question. How many of y'all have had arguments with folks and they're not even here? We all do. Especially with the significant other. I say at home, that's in martial arts, you say the dojo is a place of enlightenment. Well, I'm here to tell you as a householder, your family is a place of enlightenment. They're the place of enlightenment because they push your buttons and they do stuff. And actually, and it's interesting, especially if there's a sibling or whatever, you didn't choose them. Your teammates and your family, you don't choose them. They're there. So you got a choice. Are you going to be with them or are you going to, so we have this idea of how do we, so it's like getting a practice that's both formal and informal, but from moment to moment, you can have mindfulness and insight to the degree that we call it the clear comprehension, mindfulness and clear comprehension. What's my intention? Purpose, suitability. What's the best way to do it? Domain of practice all day long. Don't forget your meditation object, or maybe you're working on compassion or just loving kindness. And then there's we call the realities, impermanence. This idea of self. I don't call it no self. I call it the illusion of separateness. And then the suffering, it's going to be there. So impermanence, suffering, no self, or the illusion of separateness. And so those are the things we can observe every day. So when I ring the bell, that's practicing impermanence. It rises and it fades away. So we too arise and phase away. We are not beyond death, old age, or illness. That's a reflection, daily reflection, some practices. So we get to understand that, and then you can make it joyful. That's why appreciative joy is one of the Brahma Viharas, or the divine abodes. Loving kindness, compassion, practice, and appreciative joy. Well, what does appreciative joy do? It says that, okay, so I'm I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and the Buffalo Bills just kicked my butt last night. So can I appreciate the fact that the Buffalo Bills deserve to win? They're not my team. So instead of hating on them, I'm saying, okay, Josh Allen had a great game, and more power to them. So it's an antidote to jealousy or envy. So we don't make other the enemy, and we can't whatever. Being a Red Sox fan for a long time, I could tell you at the meditation center, I'd get people there say, I'm a Red Sox fan, but they're wearing me out. And I said, it was funny. It was interesting because I said, dude, it's about being a fan and not about whether they win or not. But you know, you can choose that, or you can choose to just be a fan, whether they win or not, and just support them. And then, of course, the next year they won the championship. He probably thought I was prophetic, but I wasn't. I was just being real with it. So you all understand what I'm saying. So there's so many opportunities for practice. And the thing about it is, the more you practice and the more you get the benefit of it, then that motivates you to continue to do it, because it's a great way to live. And there's so much joy when we can help somebody find themselves or get an aha moment, or just the idea of we're planting seeds, and we can't judge our performance on whether or not there's fruit that we can see right away. That fruit might not ripen for years. But I could tell you that I was teaching at the Insight Meditation Center in Cambridge, and this guy came up to me after, at the end, and said, "Hey, George, remember me?" And he was the guy that I taught in prison, and he had an art exhibit. So he was out doing his art. That was 20 years later. I had no idea. I just went in and just worked with dude, and here he is out here and doing his art and showing up at the meditation center. I used to think, well, we may need a center for those cats, because they show up to the meditation center and they go into the hall and they see, I'm just going to say it. When I did the 3-month course in Barry, and of course I was a wise guy, so I was laughing. So you go and then you take off your shoes when you go into the meditation hall. There was 100 yogis, and I guarantee you there were 93 pairs of Birkenstocks. So I'm just saying, so I just laughed at it. I said, "Oh, this is interesting." Now I could have said, "Well, I don't belong here because I don't have any Birkenstocks." I didn't say that at all. I just said, "Oh, that's interesting." And it was funny. I just laughed. So you get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just really about just being alive and just do good, avoid evil, and purify the mind. It's really that simple, but it's simple. It's not easy. But that's how simple it is how do I train my mind or transform my mind so that it becomes my best friend, and it can see clearly, it can both see and know what is happening.